animals. It's one of the things that the shamans in South America are, they'll be asked a lot of times, have you seen any ships? Have you seen, up in them, because they're up in the mountains quite a bit, say, have you seen any ships? Have you seen any beings? Have you seen this or that? They'll say, no, we're not interested in those type of beings. We're interested in the ones that don't need the ships,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what you were describing right there. Some being who just didn't need the ship. And have you ever heard the voices too? Like I was laying in bed one day, I was wide awake, and I hear something flutter into the room, and it sounds surreal, but it's like somebody was looking over me and they say, hello, and they had the most beautiful voice I think I've ever heard in my whole life. I have never even come close to hearing anything like that.
Wow.
It's just like they're walking around, they see me laying there, they know I recognize them, they say, hello, and then they leave. And I
I
have no
don't
idea
recall
about that one.
anything like that. No, I did
Yeah.
have a female being appear to me, 2/22/22. I even drew her, and I journal everything. And she, again, as I'm waking up or just laying there, like you were saying, okay, what do I have to do today? Or I always think about my dreams and my journeys. And I hear Sharon, Sharon. And then I focus on the voice, and I see this face in front of me just as clear as I see you, even clearer. And she's right there, and I can see her from
Mhm.
like the chest up. And she has a bald head, a big bald head, but she's human, very human. She doesn't have the slanted eyes or the big eyes or anything. And she's gorgeous, and I can see her energy field around her. It's it's pastel and moving, and she's just gorgeous. And she says, I want to show you something. And I'm just, okay, I'm not communicating anything, because I'm just there, like,
Yeah,
paralyzed
it's
kind
like
of thing.
when you're in that mode, you don't question. You think you'd have a million questions you want to ask, but yeah.
Yeah, that's after. But and she shows me a TV, like a regular flat screen or whatever TV, and that was it.
Hmm.
And then
Were there figures
it
coming on
was
the TV or other?
there was nothing on the TV. It was off. The TV was off. I just see the TV. And then about a month later, I project to a which felt and looked like a ship, a huge ship, and I see a being in front of me with the same head, and she's wearing a robe. Oh, by the way, she had this robe, this high collared robe. It
I
was
was
like,
just going to ask you about the collar. Yeah, was it
yeah,
collar? Kind
it
of,
was the
yeah.
high collar, the
I have
tulip
a
collar.
I
Yeah.
have a friend who had the same thing, the same kind of beings appear to them.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, and I mean, she's gorgeous, and she's very human. And so I see the same head and the same type of robe. This is gold with inlay gold, like a dark brownish gold and with gold inlay. And the room is just huge, and it has like wooden looks like, I mean, it has a wooden feel, but I don't, it's not wood, but it's gold and brown, and it has like what do you call that, molding. Huge room, and the being is standing looking out like a window.
Hmm.
And I'd say we're maybe 30 feet apart, and the being turns around, and I say, oh, it's you. But I don't know who you is. And I'm back right away. So I felt like it was probably the same being, and she came to me again in a hypnosis session. And because I had some QHHT to try to recover, get more information. And she shows me the TV again, and she flips it over, and I feel my body just starts vibrating like crazy. And it's very uncomfortable for me. And I say, I don't like this. I don't like this. And the hypnotherapist was helped me move away from that feeling, but it was crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't
So
watch a lot of TV. The one I got was, turn the TV off, which I already know, but I don't know what that was about.
So there wasn't anything actually on the TV. It just she just flipped it over.
She just flipped it over. It was a TV that was turned off, a screen, a TV screen that was turned off, and she flipped it over, and I just felt this huge vibration within me. So, um, you know,
Hmm.
the only time I really watch TV is at night if I'm relaxing and I'm done for my day, maybe, you know, a little bit or something, you know, an hour or two or something at the most, just to relax. But maybe she's saying, get rid of your TV. I
I've
don't know.
I've heard of situations, but that have been more of a near-death experience where people have seen TVs and then they've seen shapes of the future and stuff. But I've never heard anybody who's had one that wasn't turned on. So like,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And there wasn't any information that came in through it, through my hypnosis session. And I believe that that's what they do with us too, is to help us figure out our messages, or I mean, that help us figure it out on our own sometimes.
yeah, the
Yeah.
prayers were really good at that. I would ask him questions, and he would just look at me like, "I can't believe you asked me that. I can't tell you. I can't tell you because you need to figure this out on your own," type of thing. So they would never do anything to purposely lead me to a decision
Yeah.
that I wanted to make or that I need to make. But they were always really helpful about trying to explain things to me. So that is, in fact, there's a big screen that popped up on one of the ships. It was like I was telling you had a big screen. You can see my life floating by it. I can't remember all of it, but I asked him what that was. He says, "Oh, that's deja vu."
Yeah. Wow.
And that's all he would get into it. He wouldn't describe anything else that was going on. It's just
Wow.
deja vu. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I've seen other screens with images on them before, but not that kind of a communication. I mean, she was just as the most clearest. I'd, if I were to open my eyes, I'd swear she was right there in the room with me, which she may have been. But yeah, I may
yeah.
have been seeing through them. It was crazy.
Well, there's a very slight difference between them being in the room with you physically and spiritually. I guess astral projection wise, there's not that big of a difference.
Right, because they're interdimensional, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I was drawing her, and I drew her 3 times. I still couldn't quite get her eyes right. And when I connect with her, and I connected with her in meditation, I asked her, help me draw you, help me understand. And she said, draw your own eyes.
Hmm.
So
That
I think she's
that's always
explaining
the
me.
hard one. Yeah, that's always the hard one. The eyes are always the hardest
Yeah.
because they've got that such intensity to them and
Hmm.
such vibrance that it's hard to try to capture that on paper
It
or on
is
computer
totally.
or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, that's the hardest part of their body to get. Is people say, "Well, what the eyes look like?" I said, "Well, I can tell you what they didn't look like." But it's too hard trying to describe what they did look like
Right.
because it's just the color and the intensity that they look at you with. It's like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah,
you know.
it is. It's and all eyes are unique. Everyone's eyes are unique. And yeah, so I know I got some kind of a semblance that she may be my future self.
I am wondering a lot if these beings we run into aren't part of the soul collection that we are anyway. I mean,
Right.
like Raphael walking through the wall. I'm wondering if that's not just another me
Yeah.
out there helping me
Helping
out.
you. Helping
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because
Totally.
he's such in tune with when I really need something. It's like when I was going after I'd gone through heart surgery, I was lying in my bed, and they had it just as somebody just showed up and said, "Hey, we're going to heal you. Okay, we're going to help you." And it's not that I asked anybody to. I was just, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't even thinking about it. It's just they're in tune enough to where they can say, "Oh, you might need some help. We're going to come over here and give you a hand." Yeah, which
Wow.
is really cool.
That's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
Now I wish I'd do that in other aspects of my life. Where I do ask, it's like, nah.
You can figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. It's all right. It's like Andromeda staring at me and saying, "It's all right. You'll be
It's
okay." Like that's not what I wanted to hear. You know, that's not what I was expecting out of you to do that to me. You know, but okay.
if that's all you got, fine.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Let's continue on with the tour, please. Yeah.
I love that. A tour of the ship.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or a tour of life, maybe even, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
You know, I did do a speaking of ships, I did a ceremony with the shaman. I've done 5 or 6 ceremonies with a female shaman who is a medicine woman, and this was psilocybin, and this is the second journey we did. There was a group of us that did the journeys together, and there was 5 of us. And in my second journey, I looked around the room and the walls disappeared, and I could see the silver walls of a ship. We were
Hmm.
on, I could see through the illusion, and we were on a freaking ship. And we had done this before. We had done this many times. You ever feel like that, where it's like,
That's really interesting you bring that up because when I went to the Monroe Institute, you know, he was the instructor there. He's just a master of,
Robert
you know,
Monroe
astral
was?
projection. Not Monroe, the guy who was teaching the class.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, Bill something or another. He had these amazing experiences.
Are
He's
you
been
talking
through.
about William Buellman?
Yeah,
Yeah, I went to
yeah, I
his.
think so.
I went to his
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think he's teaching it right now because he had some
Mm-mm.
cancer and some stuff going on with his
Yeah.
throat. But yeah, at the time he was having some problems. But and after him, we'd kind of explain. We'd have the opportunity to explain where we'd been, what we'd seen, that kind of thing. And I said, you know, you guys are all off doing this kind of thing over here. And he had one exercise where it would take you through 9 levels. And in that ninth level, you were at the total astral projectional realm. So on the first level, I was on a ship, a spaceship. And there's people around me, and it was busy. People were doing their things. I was looking out the window, and they were obviously around some planet, but they were up in the sky someplace, you know. And I'm thinking, huh? He says, okay, now we'll take you to the next level. So the next level, I'm on the second level of the ship, right? I'm looking down on the first level, and I could sense that there's other levels of the ship up above me, right? And now we're taking the next level. Then I'm up on the third level of the ship, and it's like a command structure. There's only 4 or 5 people. They're not necessarily people, they're beings there, right?
Hmm.
We're looking down on all the other floors and outside the big window that they have, and there's just space and a planet down below us. And he says, okay, fourth level, fifth level, whatever it may be. And by the time we got to the fifth level, I was sitting up at the top of the ship someplace. There's no people. It was just me sitting in an empty space. It looked like a storage area or something, you know. And then finally he said, okay, eighth, ninth, and we get to ninth level. And he looked at me after we were done with this, and I don't know if he understood that I had all these abduction experiences, right?
Hmm.
And he says, "Are you a Star Wars fan?" I go, "No, not really. I like the movies. I go see the movies, but I'm not hooked on them." He says, "Man, you got some imagination there, you know." I was like, "No, this is this is what I'm seeing all this ET stuff, and you guys are out there doing your thing. It's like we're totally different worlds here." At that point, I kind of knew that, you know, I was working on a different level than the
Yeah.
astral projection students were.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I went back to have done is to have a verification or some sort of answer to what I was doing because I had always been curious and I thought, well, first chance I get, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this astral projection stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I know when I Gateway Voyage, and I was already projecting when I went to Gateway Voyage, and
Hmm.
I had just started practicing on my own because I wanted to find my dad basically. And after he passed, and I didn't know anything about extraterrestrials. I didn't know anything about any of that kind of stuff. And then all those memories started coming. But yeah, and so I realized that the people there uh were I don't know, they were trying so hard to project that they would get really disappointed if they weren't, you know, if they didn't have a conscious projection, although I was out and I could see them around the property and I
Yeah,
could see them
yeah.
already there, but they didn't have, it was and that's okay. Everyone's at their own uh space with that. But I
But it
find,
was so much easier for you to do it than for most of them to do it. It's the same way it was with me. You know, when I went
yeah,
there, I was doing it, and not all the methods he was teaching were resonating with me, but
yeah.
the ones that did were really good. And I was like,
Hmm.
boom, I was off. But I wasn't, you know, I could look around and I could see them doing their thing outside their bodies, but they couldn't recognize me, which
Yeah.
has happened a number of times. So, like, in fact, I was on a project I was working on with another lady who's in the area. And we decided we were going to go out and we're going to save the world, right? We're going to, yeah, fight injustices and we're going to make them right,
Right.
which turned into a huge, well, it didn't turn out very good. I'll put it that way. I mean, we were able to do stuff, but when we started messing around in the ET realms, I didn't realize how they could react in my realm. Okay.
Oh,
Because it
okay.
goes both ways. You go out there and you mess around with them. Now you're kind of declaring an act of war, and they have the ability to be able to defend themselves, do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And it got really, really interesting there for a little while.
Oh, I
It's like,
bet. Because
you know, I had
you're dealing
military
with,
personnel actually showing
yeah.
up at some of my meetups, and it was like, you know, the stories they would tell me about how they ended up at my meetup group from where they were 3,000 miles away, and all of a sudden they were told to drop what they're doing and run over here to this area. Yeah, it's
Wow.
like, wow, that was pretty
Yeah.
fast and pretty severe. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's, you don't want to mess with that. I don't want to mess with that. I know that.
no, no, no.
You know,
Well, you know, you're kind of naive is the best way to put it,
with
you
it.
know, because you don't want to think that there's something out there that's going to fight back. You don't think, but there's an experience I've described with a remote viewer friend of mine where I was out messing around, you know, just kind of investigating, doing what I thought was cool, fun stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I dropped in on a certain situation that I didn't think they were going to be aware I was there, but they were. And they took evasive action to try to eliminate the threat, what they perceived was a threat.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
it was very real. And at that point, I realized, oh my God, they can see you. And this is the physical beings on this planet. Some of them have a way to be able to detect you through electronics and mechanical means and
Right.
do what they need to do, you know,
Right.
even though you're working on a different level. So when the government says, oh, the remote viewing project was canceled, no, they did cancel the remote viewing and they just switched it off to another department and started consciousness studies or something.
Yeah,
So
because they worked with Monroe. I mean, they went to the Monroe Institute in the very
yeah,
beginning when
yeah.
he started that to learn how to do that. Yeah, and I mean, if we know how to do it, then they sure as hell know how to do it.
They got
You know,
50 years. Yeah,
and
they got
better, yeah, and
yeah,
more intense,
50
and more,
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So it can get pretty intense if you just are naive and you just out there thinking you can do everything. So when you get these remote viewers decide, hey, I'm going to drop into Area 51, I said, you
No,
really have
thank
no
you.
idea, you
No,
know,
thank
because
you. Yeah.
they do have a way to be able to capture you, your soul, so to speak, and put the fear of God in you, you know, let you know, hey,
Yeah.
don't mess around.
I
Yeah.
feel I've already experienced that as a kid, and when I was in the programs, kidnapped in the programs that they well, cloning, they take part of your
Hmm.
your DNA and things like that. But I do feel that I was my soul was
Cloning is really interesting. I'm kind of glad you brought that up because I had a lady come to me and she wanted me to investigate on why she was curious as to why there were scoop marks missing from her. You know, and I've had that happen to my son. There's, you know, scoop marks. Had a couple scoop marks on him when he
mm,
was a little child. I don't know if they do that much anymore, but I'm sure there's something involved with it. And she wanted me to find out why they were doing these scoop marks, why they were taking this. And so I do what you can do an energy trace. Okay, wherever you are in the universe or in time and space, you can trace the energy pattern, your energy trail, which is like that long silver cord that
Mm-hmm.
they talk about for
Mm-hmm.
near-death experiences. You have something of that you carry around with you wherever you are that feeds back to your body, right?
Right.
And if
Right.
you can lock onto that and you can trace somebody wherever they are, kind of like what the shamans do, um, that's kind of what I did. I traced that energy piece of hers onto a ship, and I look on this ship, and they have this wall sitting up there. And in this jar, in a suspended animation state, they have a piece of her sitting
Yeah.
there, and it's alive and it's being fed, and it's reproducing, it's doing everything it needs to do as a life function, but it's in this container. And there's like hundreds of them. I'm looking up there, and there's just like lines and lines of these jars up on the wall, and they all have like a little tiny piece of somebody in these jars. So this is their direct way of being able to track you, because now they can get an exact location off you. They can read your biometrics. They can look at you and actually communicate through that piece of cellular tissue back to the source that it came from and influence you, remote influence. This is getting on the really spooky part, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they can even take a piece of that, just like a couple cells, and make another you. So now they have a cellular you out there that looks like you. It's going to have a different upbringing, of course, but it will be able to communicate effectively with you on another level,
Mm-hmm.
and influence you to some extent.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and that's what they were doing with this piece. It was just kind of a biological marker that they could trace back to you and pick you up whenever they needed to.
Yeah. Yeah. I was told that they had something that I knew in my mind that they knew how to find me, whoever
Yeah,
they were, are,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And they, that there was a signal, so to speak, that an
An implant?
energy signal. Well, that too, probably, because I feel like I have one right here, is what I'm told. But in my sinus cavity or whatever that is right here. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it'll vibrate and it's like, oh, I just want to scratch it out. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
crazy stuff.
So it's interesting. They've got the technology. They can do whatever they want. And the only thing that's limiting them from doing whatever they want is, I don't know, maybe the weird code of ethics or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think they
I don't
have
know.
to, well, as we know, the reptilians have never abided by that. But I believe that there's that what's it called? Like the Star Trek talks about, because I follow this one gal,
Uh, yeah,
Elena Denon. She's awesome. What's
I
the
know what you're talking about. I can't remember it either. It's like,
Prime Directive?
yeah, Prime Directive. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Prime Directive, which makes sense, and I believe Star Trek and Star Wars and all that are based on.
Which, yeah, it does make sense. And I understand that, because when I went and I did the thing that I did, and they directly countered whatever I was doing by coming right after me. Yeah, it's like, then that you kind of messed up with that Prime Directive. If you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do something to them that they think is like a direct attack,
Mm-hmm.
or you're interfering in something that they're doing, then they feel like they have the right to be able to counter that somehow and come after you. Yeah, it's almost this whole thing is so Dolores Cannon put it this way, convoluted.
Convoluted
It's very,
universe. Yeah.
yeah, it's very convoluted. It's that my grandma came to me and she warned me about what the ETs were going to do to me over here, and said, "Hey, watch out! They're after you, yada yada." So how does my grandma, who's been dead in the heaven realm, maybe she isn't, I don't know. She's been dead for 50 years, something like that. She died when I was just 5, 6 years old. Knows what's going on in regards to the ETs and
Right.
telling me what's happening. and then the demons and the ghosts and all that kind of stuff. They're all kind of,
It's
it's all
so
a big jumbled mess sometimes.
yeah, it's I feel like it's kind of connected, you know, and Whitley Strieber talks about that, doesn't he? And
Yeah.
well, it's kind of connected that their doors start opening for the, I guess, the spirit world or the other realms, maybe is the beginning of it. And then I mean it's all interdimensional. So
I looked at this like the dimension sitting next to us, like a great big playground type of
mhm,
thing. And you can go into this playground really easily, or they can bounce back and forth into this,
yeah,
call it fourth dimensional if that's what you want. I don't know. And bounce back and forth fairly easily with the technology. And that's why you don't see the reptilians too much. It's because they do, my belief is they bounce back and forth interdimensionally quite a bit.
right.
Yeah, and able to appear to us. And then you have the ghosts over there, and then you have the, demonic realm, which is hanging around out there somewhere and pops through every once in a while. It's just kind of crazy.
Big soup.
Yep, yep, definitely, definitely.
Well, thank you, Don. Oh,
Well, my pleasure. I'd loved it. Yeah,
yeah, one other question I wanted to ask you real quick. I mean, there's plenty here, but we'll have to talk again if you're willing.
yeah. I'd love to. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun.
Yeah. So, do you have any memories of the Galactic Wars?
No, not really. The only thing that I really have memory of is these reptilians, kind of like coming up to us, whatever I may be, and looking at us and say, "Hey, we're at war with you," and we're kind of looking at each other, saying, "What? Are we fighting somebody? Is there some war somewhere going on that we don't know about?" Yes, we're at war with you. So they got this very determined mindset that they're fighting somebody and something. And I've heard people say that they have seen, especially in Salt Lake. I don't know what the big deal was about Salt Lake City, but the ships would be flying around, shooting lasers underground, chasing reptilian beings. It's like boom, boom, boom. Just flying along, going boom, 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 like they're fighting somebody.
Oh,
Yeah, but
wow.
I don't really have a lot of collection on that. Maybe it's a good thing
Yeah,
because yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'd put on the warrior suit and probably go after it and get hurt.
Yeah, it's not fun. Those memories started popping up for me when during my quickening, my Kundalini awakening, whatever it is, and memories when memories started coming up. And I do remember being a Pleiadian female, actually, soldier, and fighting in the skies, reptilian type beings.
I do remember something about either Lemurian or Atlanta times in
Uh-huh.
Atlantis, and there are some memories there of being like a scientist or something that was going out doing scientific work, and the politicians, so to speak, were out there messing around with their technology and doing this stuff, which basically ended up destroying Atlantis.
Yeah.
With the gems, and they would have these gems that they would sit up there in the magnetic field, and their whole purpose was to try to transport a section of society interdimensional to another section, and
Mm.
it all backfired, and it just kind of would destroyed Atlantis. And I was some sort of scientist working on biodiversity projects in Brazil. We were down in South America somewhere, where some jungle area, when this all happened, and it was just devastating.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that
Yeah,
was,
those are really bad memories for sure. And I think that
yeah.
people that were in Atlantis are back now to help right the wrongs. At least I had a out of body experience with a meeting with my council, and they told me that I was here to make things right from Atlantis, kind of redo Atlantis type of thing. And I'm like, well, what happened in Atlantis? This was like 20 something years ago, 20 years ago, when I was totally didn't know anything about any of this stuff, didn't have any memories.
Uh,
And then they looked at each other and they go, let's just say it wasn't good.
No, it was at least that's my whole idea, my theory on the whole thing is they were working on an interdimensional transportation type of thing, and they thought they had some success in transporting animals or something and back and forth, and they were doing all these experimentations where you have these like griffin animals and that kind of stuff. They're kind of putting heads on
Yeah.
body parts on different animals and
Yeah.
having success with that, and transporting them back and forth into this other reality. And they decided they were going to do it for the whole planet, the whole major city
A civilization. Yeah.
civilization. And they will just transport us up into a higher realm, and that way we won't have to do anything on this planet anymore. And it just no
Didn't work out.
backfired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
It
So
sounds like Montauk.
hmm
Yeah.
oh, that's another. I could go on with that too. It's like Montauk. I ran into this individual the guy who had the ship, the experiment on the ship, Art or something of his name. His name kind of eludes me. He was supposedly be one of the persons that was on the ship that was turned invisible on the bay during World War II.
Oh, yeah. The Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, the Philadelphia experiment. He
Yeah.
was supposedly one of the guys that was on the ship. He wasn't, but he was friends with one of the guys that was on the ship. And I'm looking at him. I'm thinking, you're friends with this guy? He says, yeah, he did my website for me. He shows me his website. I said, wait, what? You talking to this guy? He did the website for you? He said, yeah, he's told me stories about this. I'm thinking either you're totally delusional or something really happened. I'm kind of because he got in a car accident. So I'm thinking, maybe he isn't. But so I said, okay, well, let's get together and let's go up to the mountains and look for UFOs, right? And we'll spend the night up there, just me, not the night, but early morning hours. We'll build a little fire and we'll go out there. We see some UFOs. And he, we got up there and we were just chatting. He was going through water bottles, like these 16-ounce water bottles. Like I had 2 6-packs with me, water bottles. He had 2 6-packs with me. He drank all his, started drinking mine. I'm thinking, how do you even hold that? Because I never ever saw him go to the bathroom at all,
Wow.
right? And
Yeah.
he's drinking all this water. And I'm looking up the stars up above us and see, hey, there's one. It would come down and then it would do a U-turn, like go around us. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Something is wrong with you. So I snapped a picture of him when he wasn't looking. And you could see there were 7 stars around his head, like he was a reptilian or something, you know? And I for the life of me, I've been trying to find that picture and I have not been able to find it. But it was just like, something is really, really strange. So either you're telling the story is true, and I wish I could remember his name. I'd have to look it up again. The guy who was actually part of the ship, the experiment.
The Philadelphia experiment. So why would the seven stars make make you think he was a reptilian? I don't understand that.
I'm not. That's just the impression I got. I can't say
Oh,
he was or he wasn't, but there's
okay.
definitely something really, really strange about it because you don't go through 3 6-packs of water
Yeah. And
like that
not go to
and
the
not
bathroom.
even have to go to the bathroom once in the 3 hours we're up there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he was just like, and then the picture I took of him was like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I don't know. And then he just kind of disappears. I never
Weird.
saw him after that. Yeah. So,
Weird.
but it was really weird because we'd see things coming overhead and they would actually do a U-turn around us, like they weren't going to fly over the top of us. It's,
That's strange.
yeah, it was really strange.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know you've had reptilian experiences. Maybe we can save that for another show.
That would be great. Yeah.
How's that? Okay.
Yeah.
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 And I'll share some of mine.
The Area 51 was really kind of intense. That was a good one.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, good. Then I can that gives me an excuse to have you back. Okay.
I'd love to come back.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you, Don. This has been fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for watching. And I will put your contact info. Is it okay if people contact you if they'd like to?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I got
Yeah.
my website is Path of the Shaballa. It's a blog site, and I have some experiences I've pasted up on that website right there. So, and then of course my book, The Wanderer,
Okay.
which just kind of a montage of experiences I've been through. So yeah,
Nice. Nice. I love that. Do you know of the Law of One?
The Law of
The
One.
teachings, the study, the Law
Yeah,
of One?
yeah, I've heard of
Okay.
it. Yeah,
The Wanderers, they talk about the Wanderers in that book, in that those
that's where
teachings.
I got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
The Wanderer.
there
Yeah.
you go.
The
Okay.
wanderers are the beings who just kind of wander from planet to planet and just go do their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just call myself a planet hopper. So
Yeah, I'm similar, very, very similar. Yeah.
very cool. Okay, well, thank you once again, and I can't wait to talk again. And thank you everyone for watching. Please do all that YouTube stuff, like, subscribe. What else? Comment. Yeah, please let us know how you enjoy, how you like the conversation, and share some of your experiences, maybe. And we'll see you next.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Don.